Hello, everybody. Today, I wanted to share with you some great news. In case you've been running virtual machines on your Mac computers, I have some fantastic news for you. So, as you can see, Parallels can finally run x86 versions of Windows or Linux on Apple Silicon. Virtualization software like Parallels and VMware Fusion give Mac owners the ability to run Windows and Linux on top of Mac OS. But for Apple Silicon Macs, that support was limited to the ARM based versions of those operating systems. So if you wanted to be able to run Windows 11 in a virtual machine, you had to get the ARM compatible version of Windows 11. You couldn't run the x64 version. And even if you wanted to use earlier versions of Windows, even Windows 10, you had to have the ARM version. You couldn't use the x64 or the x32. And while most Windows and Linux both support some level of x86 to ARM app translation that attempts to maintain compatibility with most software, there are still plenty of things that demand an Intel or AMD processor with the x86 instruction set. But last week, Parallels released a new update that partially resolves this problem. Users of Parallels Desktop Pro 20.2.0 now have access to x86 operating systems via an early technology preview of Parallels' proprietary emulation engine. This technology preview is currently limited to certain 64-bit versions of Windows 10, Windows 11, and Windows Server 2019 and 2022. Parallels also says it has tested several UEFI compatible Linux distributions, including Ubuntu 22.04.5, Kubuntu 24.04.1, Lubuntu 24.04.1, and Debian versions 12.4 to 12.8. Fedora will install, but it's unstable. 32-bit versions of operating systems, as well as older versions of Windows like Windows 7 or 8, aren't supported. But I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to work on this Parallels so that they can have Windows 8 work, Windows 7, Windows Vista, Windows XP, Windows 2000, every version of Windows to work on Apple Silicon. And they'll probably even continue to work on it so that the Linux distributions will work as well. Now, for Windows 11 and supported Linux distros, you can run existing virtual machines using the technology preview, but you can't set up new ones. Useful for anyone migrating from an Intel Mac with virtual machines they'd like to keep. If you're trying to set up a new virtual machine, the only officially supported operating systems are Windows Server 2022 and Windows 10 21H2, though there are workarounds available for Windows 10 22H2 and Windows Server 2019. Now, you won't be able to set up fresh copies of Windows 11 or some versions of Linux because the technology preview doesn't support SSE 4.2, which is additional CPU instructions that became common in Intel and AMD processors in the early 2010s. But there are still ways that you can get around that. If you need to install Windows 11 on a virtual machine and you can't do it because it doesn't have the SSE 4.2 like the parallels right here, you can watch this link right up here and I'll show you how to bypass that so that you can still get it to install on your virtual machine or on another computer if you don't have the SSE 4.2. Now, this also means that Windows 11 24H2 virtual machines are entirely unsupported since the 24H2 update requires these CPU instructions to work at all. But you could continue to run 23H2 if you wanted to, and that would still get you mostly up to date if you wanted to do it in a virtual machine. So that might be helpful for some of you. And I promise they're going to continue to work on this and make it where it's going to support even more operating systems. It's going to be able to support that SSE 4.2. And I guarantee you that VMware is working on something as well because they want to get your business too. They want you to use VMware Fusion instead of using Parallels. I mean, since they are competitors. But I really thought this would be helpful for some of you because if you need to run certain Windows programs on your Mac computer and you've already upgraded to an Apple Silicon Mac and you can't get it to run in a virtual machine, this might be your one ray of hope to get Windows 11 or even some versions of Windows 10 to run in a virtual machine so that you can pull up those programs that you need, whether it's QuickBooks, whether it's some specific statistical software, or you just want to use the Office that came with Microsoft Windows instead of the one that they have for the Mac. Whatever the case may be, you should be able to run Windows 10 and Windows 11 in a virtual machine now because they're going to support the x64 and the x86 code with the parallels. Now, again, they'll continue to work on it and support more versions, but this is great news for all of us that do have an Apple Silicon Mac. So I hope that was interesting and helpful on how you can run the Windows 10 and Windows 11, x64, and x86 versions of Windows on your Apple Silicon Mac by using the Parallels Desktop version 20.2.0, which is the early technology preview. If you do have any questions or comments, or you just want to discuss it with me, please let me know down below in the comments, and I will do my best to get back to you. And if there is a topic or an article or something that you would like for me to create a video on, please let me know that down below in the comments as well, and I will do my best to create that video for you. And as always, because you all do such a great job, if you can hit that like and subscribe button so I can keep putting up more great content like, did you know that Parallels Desktop is going to allow you to run the Windows 10 and Windows 11 version of x86 and x64 on your Apple Silicon Mac? And I'll be glad to keep putting up all this great content for you all. Thanks so much, everybody. I really appreciate you all. I hope you have a great day. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.